My guest Diane's husband was so withdrawn that for 2 years, there was no physical intimacy. But when she became intentional about practicing the 6 intimacy skills, things shifted. And now the passion is back and it's better than ever. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Diane, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm excited too, Laura. Thank you for such a warm welcome.
Oh. Well, I always like to hear what was happening in the bad old days. So.
Well, if you don't mind, I would actually love to start with our good old days, how we did come to be married, because it's quite a miraculous story. And so our marriage began very powerfully. I had been dating this man, and I had decided it wasn't going to work. I had my reasons, my little checklist. And so I kind of wrote that off. I switched my focus. I'm like, okay, God's always been important to me. I just want to love him. I want to serve him. I want to go wherever, do whatever that he wants me to do. And I very intentionally prayed just a few little words. God, I'm willing. Whatever, I'm willing. And then I just kind of left it like that. Well, unbeknownst to me, this man I'd been dating starts having these series of dreams. And in the night, someone is calling his name. But he gets up. He was living with his parents at the time. He got up, he'd look, nobody's calling him. And so he'd go back to bed, close his eyes, go back to sleep. And again, he'd hear this. And it went on like 3 times. He's like, what in the world is going on? And so he's like, oh, that story I read in the Bible, this happened to a guy. And what did he say? It's like, okay, speak, Lord, for your servant hears. So he says that out loud. And what he gets back, he said, whether it was audible or in my brain, I don't know. But it was, go ask her to marry you. And he's like, but God, she told me no. She told me no, there's no chance. There's all kind. Go ask her. Are you willing? Not does it make sense. Are you willing? So he got a hold of me, invited me out to go snowmobiling. We live in this beautiful wooded North Woods. And we went snowmobiling, and he took me out into this extremely romantic site. We were on a ridge at sunset and the snow and the trees. And he asked me to marry him, just like boom, out of the blue. We're not dating, nothing. And he says, I'm not asking if it makes sense. I'm asking if you are willing. I'm going away for a month on a church build. You can give me your answer when I get back. And that was it. We got back on the snowmobile and we rode back home, and he dropped me off, and I didn't see him for a month. And in that month, I just had this wrestling match with God, is this, but I came to the conclusion, there's no other way. There's no other explanation for this. And so this is his answer. This is my, are you willing to go this way? Here's my direction. So we got married.
So your prayer was, I am willing. And his direction was, ask if she's willing.
Yeah.
And you heard it. It echoed for you. You knew
yeah.
Exactly. Wow. But
yeah, there was no way he knew that.
You're making me cry already.
Aww. Thank you. Touches my heart. So yeah, that's winter, I don't know, February or so. January, February, and we got married in June. And really, he was a believer also, so really took that into our life. And he prayed over me during our honeymoon, and he anointed me with oil. We said we were going to accept whatever children, people, whoever he sent into our home. And it wasn't like a month, 2 months later, I'm not feeling good and can't quite figure it out, and I'm pregnant with a honeymoon baby. I'm 30, he's 36, and here we go. here we go, family. So I'm like, yeah, God's just laying this all out. And in my brain, it just locked in. Mission central, godly family. Boom. That's what that means to me. And my husband has this vision. I've waited 36 years to have one relationship with one passionate relationship with one woman. And from that, this vision of family flows from this deep connected relationship. Well, here's the bad old days, just starting to creep in right here at the beginning, because I just was so incredibly responsible. I just wanted to take control and produce this godly family. Here we go. Rules,
Okay.
law, lots of shoulds. I was shoulding all over me, shoulding all over him. Just
I got to produce this godly family. Here we go.
I'm doing this single-handedly.
Okay.
So
kind of steamroller energy there. Yeah, I hear it.
That's me. Okay. That's me. Steamroller energy. I like that. Yeah, and he gave me so much of what I wanted through the years. He fully supported me to stay at home. So I was able to have our babies at home. So they were all born at home, and we were a homeschool family. I had all this time to delve into healthy living. We owned horses, we owned chickens, we had cows. Now we have cats. I was gifted with so much freedom. Yet, along with all these woulds and shoulds and I have tos, anxiety just really set in to the point where I felt like I had depression. That's what I thought. I mean, it just spiraled, and over the years, it just went that deep, and my thoughts could be really, really super dark. Like my family'd be better off without me. I'm hurting them. I'm disposable. And then walking right alongside was this pride. If they would just listen to me, if they would just do things my way, if they, I definitely possessed and leaned on this idea that I was right.
Yeah.
So it was hard. It was so confusing. I remember saying, I've never tried, nothing has ever meant more to me, or have I tried so hard to make something work. And it wasn't. Yeah.
It sounds enormously stressful. Feeling like you're depressed, and also you're right, and they're not listening to what you know to be true. And you care so deeply about this. You've never cared more about anything else in your whole life, it sounds like. And it's not going the way you want it to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the shoulds could just be so. I remember sitting with my first daughter, my oldest, and she's at kindergarten age, so we have to start our formal kindergarten studies, and worksheets, and she needs to make a check in these boxes. I could not get that child to make a check. And I got so frustrated. I remember reaching for the pencil, taking it away from her and going, this is how you make a check. And just, and the paper ripped and tore. And I was like, oh, this is so wrong. Yeah. And as she grew, we would have nose-to-nose arguments. And my husband's like, wow, this is two people fighting for control, two women fighting for control of my house. So the tension, was just intense. I felt the pressure to know it all, to control everything, to keep us all safe. Yeah. So the pride, the shame, the guilt. But along with it came all the things that I am. the fun and light, the engaging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Confusing.
Yeah. And I think anybody who's ever been with a child has had a similar experience of like, this is how you make a check mark. Like, just do it. Just put your shoes on. Just make a check mark. Just like that frustration. But what a great illustration, right? Of like, I think just that overwhelming feeling of like, how does this work then? If I can't get them to do things, what's going to happen here? And it sounds like that was I hear your beautiful accountability about like, this is not how you wanted to show up and just how painful it felt, to not have an alternative either, to not know what else was possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear your voice going, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. I've heard you say it so many times and I didn't know.
No, but it's very connecting to get to hear that story about you trying to force her to make a check mark, right? It's so relatable, super relatable. And then that being the seeds of this nose to nose confrontations and the tension in your home and the depression and the anxiety. It sounds like all kind of went together.
Yeah. And things could be so good too. That's what made it such a confusing mix because, there was actually so much love in our house and my children have expressed it through the years too. And, I can remember my husband saying, doesn't matter where we go, just as long as mom's beside me. I remember that. And, he bought us an RV and for 18 months on and off, we took 3 different trips. We went out east, we went out west, we went down south. He was just doing things to make me happy. Yeah, the whole family. Well, my husband is not a downhill skier, but the rest of us all ended up absolutely loving downhill skiing. And that became a huge thing that we did as a family and took friends in the homeschool group. And, there were so many really good times. And I found this that my daughter wrote to me. She was, probably around 20. I don't think she was still at home. But dear Mom, you are so special and so loved and so valuable. And far too often, I think that you think far too poorly of yourself. You're beautiful and perfect in God's eyes. And I think you're pretty great too.
Oh.
Love you, Mama. You're always in my heart and prayers.
This is the same daughter? The oldest?
This was number 2.
This number 2. Okay.
This was the second daughter that wrote that note. Gosh,
so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of love in your home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there really was. So like I said, that's what just made it so confusing and so hard. It's like it even made it even more heartbreaking for me.
Oh, when the dark times were happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Technology and screen time just became a huge issue for us. Like 10 to 15 years into marriage and kids, and we're starting to, come into teen years with our children, and it just created all kinds of issues. And it was such a hot point with me. I was like a dog that had just latched a hold and would not let go. It was just always an issue. And I had to always come up with plans and schemes and how do we fix this? And this is how we control it. And here's the list of rules. And we put locks on this. At one point, my husband hates locks. He hates doors. For about the first 15 years of our marriage, there were no doors on our house. Outside doors.
Yes.
But no interior.
The bedroom
No interior doors. No, not on the bedrooms. We didn't have a door on the bathroom for a long time. It was just a curtain. But yeah, locks on the basement, locks on the office, locks on our shed, locks and close control on the money. And, all it did was push shame and guilt. And in our oldest son, it produced this little game of adventure. He told me about this later when he was grown up. He's like, I am so sorry, Mom, because now I see how much trouble it caused. But I got to tell you, it was a game for me
to try to
figure out my way around
how to
all
get
of
through those
this
logs.
stuff. Yeah. How do
Yeah.
I get that computer? How can I get a hold of that $10? It wasn't that he was being malicious. He was a teenage boy. Or, even before that. But it sparked this, what you focus on increases. So as I focused on this really tight control of all these things, their desire to get around my controls and to have those things that I was focusing on just grew.
Yeah,
but I didn't get that at the time. I couldn't understand why they wouldn't cooperate with me, why they'd want to hurt me so bad. I kind of took it personally.
Yeah. And you're just thinking, okay, I have strong-willed kids or yeah. So, so this is causing more tension around the house, it sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was blaming them.
Yeah. And how is this impacting your marriage?
I was so clueless at the time. I was just so intent on my mission that I have a very wise husband. I look back at so many things that he said over the years. And if I would listen to him, it wouldn't have been a perfect ride, but it would have been a whole lot better than the one I was controlling. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was really impacting us. He's opening up and telling me things now that I didn't get to hear before. I just had to kind of guess what was going on. But recently he told me for the first 10 years, so we've been married 32 years right now. So the first 10 years, he believed that he had done the right thing by marrying me. The next 10 years, he hoped he had done the right thing by marrying me. The next 10 years, he just spent protecting himself. I had destroyed his confidence, his sense of masculinity. Yeah, so that's what that did. He just had to go into protection mode. So that's why the withdrawn.
So what kinds of things was he withdrawing from? Like what was happening to cause him to make those shifts every 10 years?
Well, my control, my complaining, my constant badgering of this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, fix this, fix this, fix this. I think I thought it was my responsibility to keep a little scoreboard. And so when he came home from work, I would meet him with this litany of what's wrong and what needs fixing today.
Okay.
It's just hard on a man. Well, to be pushed like that all the time.
It is, but I think in some ways, like, being the mom and running the house, homeschooling the kids, like there are a lot of things that you need, right? Fixed things need to be done. You need to just help. So, I mean, what's so bad about that?
My expectation was that he would make us holy and happy. So once again, this godly family, this is what you will produce, what we will produce together because we're a team.
Yes.
So, that expectation.
What kinds of things would you say to him along those lines?
I would criticize his parenting and how he handled something. My pushing and control led to some explosive situations, where things just got very angry and heated and things got said that were not kind and hurtful. And they came out of my mouth. They came out of our kids' mouth. They came out of Mark's mouth. But, so I would correct him. You need to be more patient. You can't say those things. Yeah, our oldest son got into some situations that I was so afraid of explosive anger that I literally stood in between. And just blocked his dealing with it. It's like, I've got this. Don't even. I just didn't even let him in the arena.
Like, you won't be needed in this situation. I'll be the parent right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm scared. I'm afraid you won't handle it well.
Yeah. And then he got angry, understandably so. And at the time, you probably didn't see any reason that he should be angry because you were handling things. So is that right?
Well, the situation was explosive enough. I could understand why he was angry. But the degree of anger that was there, I just deemed as unsafe. Yeah. So I will control this situation instead of stepping out of the way and letting them have their own relationship. And I guess that's a big key. I did not understand the concept of different people's papers. We were married. We were one. These children came. We were one family. And in my brain, there was one paper. And I was responsible for it.
Yeah. So, and he wasn't doing things the way you wanted, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, it was just so confusing. It wasn't like I thought I had all the answers, because I was confused and I knew I didn't have all the answers and he didn't have all the answers. So that probably just introduced more fear.
Yeah.
More control.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And more breaches in our relationship.
And were you ever thinking like he was thinking, I hope I married the right woman, or like, I'm just protecting myself? What were you thinking? Were you thinking, okay, I married the wrong man, or I wish I was raising kids with somebody else, or what was your thought process at that time?
Yeah, my brain definitely went on those destructive little trips too. Yeah. And that was really harmful, because it damaged the relationship between my husband and I. I mean, we actually said to each other at different times, I don't love you. I don't care about you.
Oof.
Talking about intimacy. I can remember early on going, I can take it or leave it. Once a month is just fine for me. And here he came in believing that with marriage would come an intimate, passionate relationship.
Yeah. And you were more or less rejecting that notion.
Oh, yeah.
Treating it as almost like a duty, it sounds like, instead of a opportunity for pleasure and connection.
Exactly. Yeah. My focus was so much on the family that I labeled him. So what was going on in my mind? I labeled him selfish.
He was selfish. Okay,
that he was more concerned about himself than about us.
Yeah. And this whole wanting intimacy thing is kind of proof of it. He just cares about himself.
Yeah. He only married me for sex.
He only married me for sex. Yeah.
And I think I said those words. I know I thought them, and I'm pretty sure I said them at one point. I was just really brutal. I didn't understand. I just did not understand what I was doing.
You're so accountable in telling this story, but but at the time this seemed real. Like, he's just selfish. Like, he just married me for sex, and he gets too explosively angry is kind of another theme that I think I've heard. And now you're looking back at it all with a different pair of glasses on than what you had at the time. But was there ever a moment that you said, wow, we can't go on like this?
Yeah, there were a number of them. So the toll on me, I had these headaches, nausea, vomiting cycles that I would go on, and they would be as frequent as anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks in between, and it would wipe me out for 2 to 3 days. And at one point, one of our sons so perceptively said, Mama, is it possible you're doing this to yourself because you're always so anxious and, we're so responsible and so trying so hard? And I was offended. You have got to be kidding me. You think I'm doing this to myself?
Who would do that?
Well, I have since issued a Laura Doyle apology to my son because he was spot on. So, yeah, that was one of those, this can't continue because it's killing me.
So you're saying that, like, you were giving yourself so much anxiety, you were making yourself sick for days, and your son called you out on it. I can see where that would be like a big ouch. I can see why you reacted so badly. All right. And so, but this is one of those moments when you thought, we can't go on like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because it was so hard on me. I thought this is eventually going to kill me. Whatever is going on here.
And did you equate that to, like, this is your husband's fault?
Yeah, I think in some dark, twisted way I did.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have this godly, happy family. So, yeah.
He wasn't doing his part to make it a godly, happy family. So it was his fault that it was so hard on you. That's the thinking?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah, I think it's just so valuable to go back to the thinking that we had, right? When we were in the bad old days. So, and I just hear you being so respectful and so thoughtful about how you present your story with your husband. And the forgiveness is so clear. But it's also just so valuable to hear the part where you were uninformed, the part where you didn't know any better, and how you saw the situation, because I think it's so relatable. Like, I mean, so many women have thought, if only he would do all these things that he's supposed to do, make it a godly, happy home, I wouldn't be so stressed. I wouldn't be so overwhelmed. I wouldn't be getting sick all the time.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. So, and did it ever occur to you to separate or get divorced, or did you ever threaten him that if he didn't shape up, or?
No.
Okay.
No. Our belief and our faith in God has been a pillar for both of us. That in those dark days, that was not an issue. For him, he is an amazing man of commitment. When he makes a commitment, he has thought things through, and he doesn't count the cost of he counts the cost ahead of making the decision. But once he's in 100%, and he's not going anywhere. For me, this was my second marriage. And so part of that was I'm not going down the divorce road again. I am not. And especially, we had children right from the beginning.
Yeah, you did. You did.
And I was not going to make them another broken home statistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally get it. So your levels of commitment to the marriage were really high, both of you, it sounds like. But also the misery level sounds very high.
Yeah. I mean, there were a number of times where it was like, this can't go on. Those fights with my oldest daughter, those felt like this just can't go on. And then, yeah, in her later teen years, I remember things being extremely stressful at home one day, and I was just going to go for a walk to clear my head, and I was so upset. And I started walking, and the notion struck me as I'm walking, I'm not going to turn back. I'm not going to go home. And my husband worked fairly close to where we lived. And I went and I hid in the van that he had driven to work. And I think this was in the morning, if I remember right, that this happened. And so he didn't come out to go home until, like 4:00 in the afternoon. And everyone was out looking for me. My in-laws lived close to us. If I remember right, my children had gone to see if I had gone over there. But in my brain, it was like, I have teenagers at home. They'll take care of things. That was one of those dark, everybody's just better off without me thoughts. So that was I can't, something's got to break. Something's got to change. I flew into a rage over, once again, the technology, the screens. The family had fallen into a pattern of watching movies every night. And a lot of them I disapproved of what they were seeing in the mature themes. And, I just worked myself into such a tizzy one night that I went down and confronted my husband in front of all the children as they're watching this movie. And I don't even remember what I said, but I remember feeling very hot and sweaty, and I remember shaking. And my husband just looked up at me and was like, I'll see you outside. And so I went out and I paced back and forth until he got out there. And then I literally just attacked him. I just threw myself at him, pounding at his chest. Don't you care what you're doing to us? And, I look at that now and I'm like, whoa, I needed a mirror. At that point, I needed to be asking myself that question because I was doing so much damage at that point.
Yeah, but at the time, you're thinking he's exposing my kids to things that are inappropriate. Like he's wrecking their innocence. He's hurting all this work I've done to protect these kids.
Yeah. And I shut down such an amazing gift that he has. He's got this gift of being able to see God in anything. Just so perceptive. I'm like, wow, I would have never seen that. I would have never thought of that. And he could do that with a movie. It didn't matter what movie. And there would be these amazing conversations afterwards, around the dinner table or when we were all together doing this or doing that. And these conversations would come out and just with these very stark illustrations from the movies. And I was kind of thankful for that, but I was more in my head over the harm that it was doing that I forgot. Yeah. So that was one of those things that kind of just started dying down because there was so much disapproval. It damped out that beautiful gift.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hear it. And yeah, it sounds like it was also enormously stressful for you. Like it pushed you into a rage. That's how hurtful this was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did that fight, it wasn't really a fight, it sounds like. Your husband just listened to you. Like he said, I'll see you outside. And then you guys went outside and then you talked and did you feel heard?
To be honest, I don't remember.
You just remember the shame of raging.
Yeah. Yeah. I think getting that angry really does something to my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels bad afterwards. I've done it. So I remember the hangovers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are memorable. They're memorable moments. And at the time, it seemed like it's all his fault. Like he wouldn't be this angry if he had done what he should do as a godly father and husband.
Yeah.
Did you guys,
Justified.
yeah. Did you guys ever, like get help, like go to marriage counseling or ask people for advice on?
That was something that I was always trying to figure out, how to fix this here. Let's read this book together. Let's go to this marriage retreat. At one point there was even this lady in our life that was a little older than us. And I don't know, I was just so desperate because it just turned into such a weird situation. She fancied herself a counselor, but also had a huge victim mentality that the rest of the world was all out to get her. But yeah, I mean, this is how far my husband went to try to make me happy. Because he actually submitted to sitting and doing counseling with this woman. Yeah, I'm amazed. That's just amazing to me that that's how far he would go to try to make me happy, satisfied, do what I'd requested. Yeah, because that was a huge mistake.
To go to the counseling was a huge mistake.
Yeah, well, to let this particular woman who fancied herself a counselor, into our lives.
Gotcha.
How you start making some really bad decisions when you're desperate. I do. I mean, that's been my experience. That desperation has not served me well.
And what was the negative consequence of seeing her as a counselor?
Well, it didn't help. I would say it drove that wedge between us that was breaking the trust, breaking the intimacy. It served to drive that deeper. It didn't help.
More harm than good, it sounds like.
Yeah.
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 The relationship. Yeah.
And my husband does not like to be put in boxes. He does not like to be controlled. He does not like to be fixed. Like he would rather there were no doors on our house. So the fact that he would actually go to these places and do these things for me is just a testament to his resilience, to his efforts to keep us together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you were no happier, it sounds like, after this counseling experience.
No.
Still,
I'd kind of forgotten all about that. That's, one of those memories I would just rather push away.
Yeah. So then what happened?
Well, like about 25 years in, a huge situation happened, and tragedy struck our family. Our firstborn son, who was 20 at the time, was killed in a gun accident. And, I remember one of his siblings, just sharing with me, I thought there was time. There was some, conflict between the two of them. And, I thought there was time that we'd grow, we'd mature, we'd resolve this. We'd get to a better place. And there isn't. And it just really drove home to me that tomorrow's not guaranteed to anybody. And I looked at the relationship between this son and me, and I was thankful that somehow the relationship had been maintained through adversity, through all the adversity. And this is a place where I look back and I go, okay, this was pre-skills. I had not encountered you at all in my life at this point. But yet in this relationship, he was in Alaska. He was a long ways away from us. But we had maintained a relationship of gratitude, receiving graciously, respect, vulnerability. There were some things going on in his life, but I really wanted to see him and he really wanted to see me. So I had gone up the prior summer, so that was really a vulnerable trip for me to make up there. He he called me often. And in fact, I need to back up to the Alaska trip. It was the strangest thing. When we said goodbye, I was up there for 10 days. And when we said goodbye, and even before I got on the plane, I started crying. And I've never cried like that before. The tears came so hard and so heavy. I cried all the way down the Rockies. The flight path went to Alaska, all the way down the Rockies into the States. And I couldn't shut them off. I was just racked with this grief. And my whole front was wet just because, and I was like, what in the world is going on? And I had no idea that was the last time we would see each other. But it turned out that way. And the same with the last time he called. It was 1 a.m. He was coming home from work. He's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I understand. I know exactly what time it is at home, but thank you. Thank you so much for picking up the phone. Thank you for always being there for me. Thanks for always being in my corner, and I was lonely and I really needed to talk to somebody from home, and you're who I wanted to talk to, and I miss my cat, and that amongst telling me about all the other things that were going on in his life. But he just really expressed that incredibly deep gratitude. And so I came out of that experience knowing that these things worked. Whatever it was that he and I had in our relationship, they worked. So that was, just like this little seed, being planted. And I also knew I had this awareness of a crystal clear choice coming out of here. I could either get really angry, bitter, mad at God, mad at people, blaming myself, blaming other people, blaming God that this had happened, or I could press into hope and belief and trust and just this incredible value on the relationships around me. That tomorrow's not guaranteed. My husband was on the road as an over the road trucker nationwide at that point. It's a very dangerous job. Things can happen. And just, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out. It just reinforced this decision, this knowing in myself that somewhere there was an answer to this, that it's possible to love well and to cherish people and have harmonious relationships. And I really want to figure this out.
So it gave you just a renewed passion for loving the best you could in the given time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I clung desperately to my faith at that point. And I settled it in my brain. Within the first 24 hours, God is good. I don't get this. I don't understand. But I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, he walked all the way through this whole thing with me and with our son, that he never left his side. He did not pass right away. So there were surgeries, and I had my ticket. I was on my way. I was going, and I got the call that he had passed away. But so the conclusion I came to was there's just something very fundamental I don't understand, and I'm not seeing right. And whatever it is that I'm not seeing right is a critical key to relationships and how I walk through this world, how I relate to people. So I kept on trying. I knew I wasn't living in harmony with my faith. There was something wrong, and a couple years went by in between. And then the strangest thing happened. Help came from a place I really was not expecting. I had this huge stack, shelves of books that I've read through the years on how to be a parent, how to be a spouse, how to be a wife, how to pray, how to, all these things. And I ended up with this book that this lady from California wrote, on the brink of divorce, too embarrassed to get divorced, wanting to make it work. And this lady goes out looking and talking to other women that have successful marriages. And she starts experimenting, and wow, without her husband doing anything, their marriage starts changing. And of course, the book is The Empowered Wife. And I'm talking to the woman who wrote it. Yeah. And I just have to say, your transformation story is just told so beautifully and in such an inspiring way. It just drew me in. And I saw so many things. I'm like, oh, maybe this is why I'm having trouble. I just saw so much of myself. And I couldn't get enough. And then I get to the end of the book. I'm like, whoa, there's a community. There's coaching available. There's, it doesn't have to end with just this book. And I'm a people person, love community, do well in community. And so I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And I enrolled for private coaching and group coaching in the Diamond program. And yeah, it just turns out there's so many things in my power, areas where I can change and make wiser choices. And those just, were like bing, 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 light bulbs for me. It doesn't have to stay like this.
Just hear the relief and the hope. And this book was on your bookshelf already, it sounds like.
I've searched my brain as to how that book ever even came in my hands. And I have to honestly tell you, I don't know.
I snuck it in there.
I don't remember.
I just broke into the house. There were no doors. So I just put it in the house.
Thank you. I'm even more indebted to you now than I was at the beginning of the call.
I love it. I love it. So, and what's the state of your relationship when you find that book? What's the state of your marriage? Like, how's the physical intimacy and how's the tension at home?
Yeah. Okay. That would have been like 4 years ago. So at that point, well, shortly after I started the Diamond program, I had a major breakthrough. There was a lot of guilt and shame attached to sex for me. And then all the expectations, shoulds, pressure from, what we'd be like on 28 years of marriage at that point. I had a great deal of difficulty enjoying sex. I really had to just play mind games with myself just to find enjoyment. And I was like, this is dumb. This was a gift given to a husband and wife. And once again, I know there's something wrong in my thinking, that I'm having issues with this. So, and I think the skills just, kind of started revealing that and starting to change my heart. And the page flipped and I was enjoying sex. It was like, whoa, this is great. This is fun. I like this. And so I told my husband, I was like, yay, conquered. I'm not going to be that no woman anymore. I'm done with that. You let me know anytime, any place. I'm available and I'm enjoying sex. Thank you. This is great. So I'm thinking, whew, yeah, yes, do the dance.
Yes. Happy dance.
Yeah. And then 2 years later, my mom had dementia issues. She's in her late 90s at this point, and my brother and I were taking turns taking care of her. She couldn't take care of herself anymore. She had to be with somebody all the time. And so my brother would have her half the week. We'd have her half the week. Our house is small. My husband's solution was, let's put a bed in our bedroom. You have to kind of keep track of her at night anyway. When she's here, I'll just sleep in the basement because I'm not comfortable sleeping in the room with your mom. And, so half the week, that's the way we'd be. And then mom would go over to my brother's house and he'd come back to our marital bed and our bedroom. And then the week came where he just didn't come back. No explanation. And so that went on for 2 years. No intimacy. 2+ years. And I had gone through a year of coaching at that point, but I was in between. I thought, a year of coaching, okay, I'm good. I've got this. I've had a major breakthrough, and it's just going to keep on getting better. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So it was in that period of time where I wasn't plugged in to the Laura Doyle community that happened. And that was a rough 2 years. Lonely.
Very lonely. And no explanation. This is kind of puzzling. Like, why all of a sudden is he not there?
And I think at one point a question got asked, but it was just like, I'm more comfortable. I sleep better there. He was retired at this point, so he wasn't on the road anymore. Yeah, he just kind of set up camp downstairs. He had his computers and his movies, and that's just kind of where he lived.
And you felt very rejected, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really tough.
And this is after you have the skills, so it makes no sense, right? It's unfair. This is unfair. Like, the skills are supposed to have you have more intimacy.
Yeah.
And he's more distant than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's terrible.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, the years of taking care of her and continuing to homeschool, and, I had a full plate. So I guess I just kind of just kept on slugging through.
Yeah.
I guess I really don't have any other big explanation other than that. Still believing there's got to be something that's going to fix us.
Not hopeless,
and
but hurt.
Yeah, and having hope from being part of the community, I had a desire to come back to the community. And I mean, I was definitely practicing a bunch of the skills. Duct tape was a great one for me because I realized how much harm I had done by what was coming out of my mouth. So the duct tape at least stopped what was coming out, but so much was still going on in my brain. I had a lot of stinking thinking still going on in the background. I remember one of our sons at one time just saying, "Hey, Mom, can you please just lighten up? Just let Pop be Pop. Let him enjoy life." But it's kind of like I have these perceptive sons that are just so good at calling me on it.
You're like, what is this thing I've brought into the world here, right? Like, tell me.
Yeah, they're a pretty amazing group. Yeah, and I talked to you before about the awareness of his paper, my paper, our paper. So that started getting clear in my mind. I was making progress there. The fact that so much that had come out of my mouth had done so much damage. So there was a realization that this is not something that happened in isolation.
Okay.
This is something that happened over a long period of time. And he's such a Mr. Steady. It just took him a long time to get to that place where he just needed to protect himself that much.
Wow. So even though this is it's very hurtful, you're feeling abandoned and it's kind of confusing, but you're also, you are so accountable. Just sharing this story with us, you're saying like, I kind of got that this was a result of the last 28 years of things that I'd said or like ways that I'd shown up that drove him away. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Ouch. Oh, that's an awful feeling. That's a terrible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But you felt, even though it's not at all what you wanted, but you felt he was justified. He was justified.
Yeah, you had gotten in my brain far enough at that point that, I realized, well, like you say, women are the keepers of the relationship. And I hadn't been a very good keeper. I'd been kind of mean.
Oof.
And it had taken its toll over a long period of time. And as I did know what I needed was probably more of you, more of the skills, understanding them better, the support. I missed the support. And so when my mom passed away, some, of her inheritance came to me, and my husband, just so incredibly generous man that he is, he's like, "That's yours. You do whatever you want with that. I don't need to know. I don't care. It's yours." The first thing I did with it was sign up for coach training.
Wow. So you were clear. That's where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Studying at the highest level, practicing skills with women who are equally committed. Yeah. And getting the support. Yeah. Getting the highest level of support because you knew there was more transformation possible. And you wanted it all. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I knew that my thinking was so entrenched and my blind spots so big that I needed lots and lots of therapy. I needed lots and lots of very close personal help. And looking at the campus and everything that was offered there, quite frankly, I did not sign up to become a coach.
No.
I signed up because there would be class every week and there would be community and I could have coaching every single day. And it was like, I did it for our marriage. I did it for my children. I did it for me. The doing it for me came later. I do have to admit that.
Okay.
You know, my vision had just been trained so well to be outward looking.
Yeah. Yeah. You're here to serve your family, to take care of your kids and take care of your husband.
Yeah.
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 And so when you were signing up, you were saying, I'm doing this for my marriage and for my kids. But at some point, it also became a gift to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That foundational piece of self-care. I'm still working on that one. 32 years of just this mindset of serving and making things happen. And it just goes so deep. And along the way, I lost myself. My first self-care lists were so hard to even come up with. And I became aware also of how much I was beating myself up inside. I didn't like me.
Oh.
And I can remember in the dark days standing in front of a mirror when I'd be so upset, like I'd go in to use the bathroom and wash my hands and look in the mirror and there's, the tears. And I don't look pretty when I'm crying. It's, what a mess. And I can just remember just over and over through the sobs, just going, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was apologizing. It's kind of like I was apologizing to me, but more than that, I was apologizing to God because I knew in the back of my brain, I knew he had created something good when he made me. At least that's what he told me. And I didn't buy it, I guess, at the time. So a huge part of my self-care transformation was taking care of my own thoughts and coming to that place where I believe what God says about me.
Wow.
That I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, that his works in me are marvelous. And, and the skills made sense with all of that. They gave me permission to like myself. They gave me permission to consider myself. So, like, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I'm like, oh, I got to love me before I'm going to be fit to love others well.
Yeah.
And, that piece, I never saw that before.
And you probably had heard that phrase your whole life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Growing up, but now it meant something different.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. It's like the skills started undergirding all of that and creating space and providing nourishment. So, this was just a huge critical part of my transformation story, this believing what God says about me and accepting this privileged place at his side in his son. I can't overemphasize that and how many aha moments I've had through where it's like, oh, this is what it is to encourage people. Oh, I need to see to it that I respect my husband. This is what it looks like. It doesn't look like this that I thought it looked like. this is what it looks like. It was just like aha after aha after aha. And I'm like, whoa, this is the piece. These are the practical pieces to put my faith in action in a meaningful way that translates well to my heart and to the people around me. It was like huge.
I love it. I love it. It's very inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, joy, dignity, hope. I mean, I've got my little inspiration board here, and one of the things that it says on it is, I am clothed with strength and dignity, fun and light. I'm calm and I'm trusting God in the pleasant times, in the storms, in the waiting, and in the everyday joy and pain.
The skills gave you the practical ability to put your heart and mind into those, it sounds like, in a way that was difficult before.
Yeah. That I just didn't see. I was so blind to. And I'm just so thankful for the gift that my Lord gave me in making me and in making you, and just this wisdom. I just, my gratitude goes out so much to Him for His work in me and His love and mercy and grace that is so beautifully expressed in you and in all your coaches. I have never been in such a safe community where I can come just as I am with whatever. And I know I'll be listened to. I'll be accepted. I'll be encouraged by another woman's sharing of herself with me in a very open and real and vulnerable way. And I'll come out with hope. So I cannot say thank you enough for putting those pieces together for me.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you. Beautiful. So how did this all impact your marriage?
Well, I went through the year of coach training. I have no idea if all the classes that come through your coach training are as phenomenal as the class I was privileged to be part of. But wow, amazing coaching, amazing help and instruction and encouragement through the whole thing from your coaches and my classmates. They blow me away how amazing they are. And, but yeah, went all the way through with, I mean, there were changes happening at home. My relationship with my 16-year-old daughter was, becoming more calm. She comes to me, asks me for my opinion, my input, lots of hugs, lots of I love yous.
Oh my gosh.
Which, I mean, those things were all kind of present before, but they were becoming more and more present because I was being awful controlling of her too. So, letting go of that really helped a lot. My husband was relaxing more as I was getting off of his paper. Like with the computer, the time he would spend on there would just make me angry. So I just avoid him and it completely, or I might throw little darts. But I quit doing that, the duct tape. And then I started working on the thoughts going on inside of my own head and replacing those with things I could be thankful for about my husband, about, what a great dad he was, the spouse fulfilling prophecies. And so I was retraining my thinking. Take every thought captive to the obedience of your Lord. I'm like, oh, I got to change the way I'm thinking. And this is how I can do it. The spouse fulfilling prophecies, realizing where I had messed up and making Laura Doyle apologies.
Wow.
And it was just.
So in the spouse fulfilling prophecies, what a great dad he is. This is the guy who fail to help you create a godly, happy home for all these years. The same man?
Same man.
What happened? How did he get to be a great dad?
Changed my stinking thinking.
Yes.
Found things to be grateful for instead of always being this. I became a detective for what's good and right and true and noble and focusing on those things. And I quit being a detective for all the things I could criticize and complain about.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, he sounds like a different guy.
Yeah.
This is all just it was you changing your perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible. Incredible. Wow.
Yeah. Huge change. I mean, I just started becoming more self-aware of a lot of things. And Laura Doyle apologies, I love them. Before I had this apology that went like, will you please forgive me for eating the last cookie? You know, whatever.
Super accountable. All right.
But it always required the other person to respond. You know, they had to make a choice at that point because I'm asking them a point-blank question. Will you forgive me? And they had to either say yes or no.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I love the Laura Doyle apology. I can't, wow. I apologize for being disrespectful when I ate the last cookie. And there's no response required from the other person. I think that makes all the difference in the world, that frees them. It's up to them. It's totally on their paper whether they accept the apology or not, or how they do. And my husband's so gracious. As I started making Laura Doyle apologies, I'm sorry for being disrespectful when I criticized and complained about your parenting.
You said that?
Oh, yeah. In a number of different forms, in a number of different ways through the years. I have definitely said that. And he can do what he wants with it. And quite often he's so gracious. He's like, of course. Or you don't really have to apologize for that.
Oh.
But the apology's on my paper. I get to own the apology no matter what. So I can say, thank you so much for being so gracious.
Oh.
That makes me feel so special and cared for. And I need to say it because I desire to be a respectful wife.
Oh, wow. Wow. How does, I mean, how does he respond when you say, I need to say it because I desire to be a respectful wife?
He gets this knowing little shake to his head. He's kind of processing the whole thing. And he has said thank you.
Wow. Amazing. And I mean, it sounds very hard to say all those things. It must have taken some doing to get to say those things, to apologize for being critical about his parenting and then say, I need to say this. Like, even if he's letting you off the hook, you're like, I need to say, I want to say that. I desire to say this.
Yeah.
And this requires so much humility and certainly accountability. So you have cultivated that in yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I appreciate my husband. I like him.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You like him. So,
yeah.
And you're saying this and he's still sleeping in the basement.
Yeah.
And you have probably said or tried to do things or whatever to lure him back into your bedroom.
Yeah. To let him know I'm available. Yeah. But I didn't, and I was hoping for that major breakthrough, and I went all the way through coaches training without it.
Yeah.
And I thought,
that's
well,
right.
you know, maybe I'm the exception.
Yeah. You're the one that it doesn't work for. This doesn't work for you.
So what I need to do is just accept things the way they are. be grateful, relinquish control of that expectation, because maybe it is going to happen, maybe it's not, but it's not on my paper. I'm open, I'm available. He knows that. So there was a lot of relinquishing control, timeline and expectations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like the Laura Doyle me, and I'm going to keep on living with her and as her. So yeah, he went away. We own a house 3 hours away that our sons live in, and he's been working with them on the house. So he's been gone a lot of weekends, and at one point he was gone for a week. And he got back, and I was back here doing my Laura Doyle thing, and I came out and I realized he's home. And I was like, oh, well, the old me would go out with all the problems and the issues, and I'm like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm just going out to say hi with a big old smile on my face and, see how his week was. And yeah, so that's how I went. I literally, went running out. And he turned around with the biggest smile on his face and wrapped me up in his arms with a big old kiss. And it's like, wow. Surprise. So yeah, so we're on this new chapter in our life of reconnecting intimately again, and him cracking the door open to see if it's safe. Because, like I said, he's a Mr. Steady. He really thinks through things before he does them. So I think this protracted time that may seem so long, he needed and continues to need, because we've kind of done this little dance of, 3 steps in, 2 steps out, 5 steps in, 2 steps out, so we're making this slow progress. And we had a big conversation the other night where, he just asked the question, why now? It took me a long time to just get okay by me. Why now? And I had just expressed that, I've always wanted to be and live in relationships that are peaceful, connected, confident, contented. That's how I wanted my life to be. And I can be honest that I wanted that all the way back when I was a little girl. This is nothing new, but I didn't know how. Mm-mm. And that was confusing. It was frustrating. It was sad, especially being a believer who serves this great God. And I said, you had a messed up, foolish wife that wanted all these things and had not a clue how to go about them, and just went about them the wrong way. Yeah, I was tearing down my house with my own hands.
Oof. This is so humble, so accountable.
Well, it's so real. This is it. And, I said, finding Laura Doyle and getting a hold of the skills are finally answering those questions of how can I lay hold of a life like this? And started explaining to me why the trouble, why the difficulties. And so it's nothing new that I'm looking for. It's just, I've found a way to get there.
But this is him asking you this is a huge acknowledgement of like, who are you and what have you done with Diane? Of like this incredible transformation that he's watched you have. I hear it as I hear it as kudos to you. I hear it as a big old acknowledgement of who you've become in this process. And it's such a joyous thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. There is a lot of joy in it. And I'm still relinquishing control of the expectations and the timelines. Because even in this conversation, I told him that. I said, This was 30 years in the making. And I do not expect you to just turn on a dime. You take all the time you need.
Wow. So
Love
you're just
is patient. Love is kind. And that's what I want to be. I want to be kind to you. I want to be patient.
oh, so you're creating all kinds of emotional safety with him, and the result is is he still sleeping in the basement?
He is. There's some physical issues that go along with this whole thing too. He's had loads of sciatic pain and, so crippled up at different points that he has a hard time walking. So he doesn't sleep real comfortably. So I think that's just part of relinquishing control of the expectations. But we've found time to be together and desires to be together. And you were accurate in your introduction that in many ways, at least for me, now speak for myself, it's better now than it's ever been. I'm past all the fears and the feeling awkward and not good about sex. And it's just like, open the floodgates. It's time.
You feel desired.
I do. And I can have fun with him. And it's okay with him to say yes or no, when I get flirty. And he's given me the permission to do that. And in fact, even apologized one time when I was being flirty and silly, laying with the cat as he's petting the cat on the floor. And I went and laid next to the cat in the same position. I said, am I next? Just standing in line. And it was a no, not tonight answer. Mm-hmm. But then he turned right around the next day and apologized to me and was concerned that he had made me cry, that he had made me sad and made me cry. And, I was able to thank him. Thank you for caring about me and being concerned. And you're right, the old me would have cried. The old me would have been very hurt. It took 30 years to get here. It's not going to just go away completely overnight. At least, I mean, it could turn tomorrow and never come back again. But, my expectations, or he can be having a bad day and his sciatica can be kicking up and he, just, no, today is not a good day, but that's okay. I can still flirt with him and he can say yes or no.
Yeah, your flirting is super cute. So, and that sounds enjoyable too. Like that sounds like that's kind of proof or demonstration of a happy Diane, right? Who's just laying on the floor saying, am I next? With a little cute look on your face, right? So, yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty like that's the Diane you want to be. That's how you want to show up anyway. And it sounds like you're not taking it personally if you're rejected for physical intimacy after being playful and flirty. It's just, there's fun in that just of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's just kind of fun. He was on his farming simulator the other day, driving a big delivery truck down a windy road. And, I was just being nothing but trouble. I was blowing in his ears and kissing him on the neck. And he's like, I'm trying to get my neck so you can't, so it's so small you can't get to it. And I'm just pestering him. And,
so much fun.
Yeah. And it was fun. And today I walked up to him and he's driving a delivery truck. He looked over at me and he reached down and he shut it off. He stopped at the simulator right there. He said, I want to stay on the road today.
Oh.
Yes. So, he's starting to play back.
He is.
Which is. It's fun. I would love to see him enjoy life a little more.
Oh, well, and it sounds like that's what's happening. It sounds like you're enjoying each other more. And you guys still have kids at home?
Yep.
Yeah. And how is all of this impacting your kids?
Well, we have one. We have a 16-year-old daughter still at home. And I mean she's dealing with a bunch of issues. But the space is safer for her to work out her own life. So yeah, she's a lot calmer.
So you transforming Diane made your 16-year-old daughter calmer, feel safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty great feeling.
Yeah, I think she's feeling more free to work on her own life. You know, mom's not in there trying to make her life something.
Yeah.
I'm saying, you know, you're a young lady now. And, you know, you're bright, you're intelligent, you're so conscientious. I would love to be your support. I'm here for you. I will always be in your corner. Yeah, I'm my desire. I mean, this is my only child. I really have this chance to still do this with, is to, you know, really respect her young adult years while she's at home and allow her to make, you know, many of her own decisions and experiment with different things. You know, it's like you encourage us to experiment with different things and your coaches. And so to have a good handle on that when she, you know, as she grows and matures and moves off into her own at some point.
Beautiful. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure she's loving that. It just sounds wonderful to be in that position, to have this relationship with your daughter and just show up. So, with so much trust and respect for her, and love and support too, but not in a controlling way. Must feel really good to be able to give her that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a messy middle space.
Sure. Of
you know,
course.
and my husband and I are still a little bit in the messy middle too, but you know, that's okay. I'm not worried about it nearly as much anymore. You know, I definitely still get coaching around things. I need coaching every day. You know, it can definitely benefit me, and coaching other women just fills my heart.
You just love it. And you never set out to be a coach, but
No, and that's a big adventure in life right now, you know, being certified a couple months ago and figuring out, what, you know, what's this life going to look like?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, if you were talking to a woman who is where you were, feeling like her husband is just letting her down, not making her happy, helping with this godly home, that she's just feeling so anxious and depressed, and almost that her family would be better off without her. And she wants to be where you are now, having these flirty interactions. Getting a big hug and a smile and a kiss, when her husband comes home after a week, and feeling so self-possessed and dignified about being able to apologize for things that she did in the past. You know, having that confidence that's just kind of shining out of you. What is your tip for her? What should she do?
I guess a huge tip would first of all be to get your book.
Look for it on your bookshelf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really. Just grow it. It'll just show up. Manifestation. I like that. And then just to breathe. Let yourself breathe. Give yourself some time and space. To become happy. I'm just thinking about Amy's podcast right now, just a few episodes back. Joy. Start looking for the good things. Become a detective of everything you can possibly be thankful for. from the little things all the way up to the big things. So I think that has been what has helped so much is focus. Just focus on the good, the right, the positive, and let that grow. That's where gratitude is, and Thanksgiving, and taking care of yourself. Yeah. Give yourself time.
Wisdom bomb, like, so, I love that. So what would you say to Diane if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
Oh, get the book. Yeah. Yeah, I wish the younger me would have had this information. I think life would have been different in our home sooner. And a lot of the things that I would tell the other woman too, relax. A lot of the things my children told me, relax. Let the people around you be the people around you, Pop, us. Enjoy life. Take a breath. I remember as a teenager, one of my male friends telling me, Diane, you just need to learn to relax. You're just always so tense.
Even as a teenager. Okay.
Even as a teenager. Yeah. Yeah. All this didn't just happen with my marriage.
No.
I brought stuff. He brought stuff. Life.
Yeah. But your marriage has been the crucible, or the laboratory where you've been able to experiment with relaxing in a new way.
Yeah. It's like, this is how you do it.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's super inspiring. I remember just hearing you share about the return of physical intimacy in your relationship on one of our calls that we have around, because I too need to be in this conversation every day so that I can be my best self and have my best marriage. And just being so elated by your joy and your transformation, and just taking so much inspiration. And it's just such a thrill to get to hear the whole story, the whole magical story, and all the accountability that you have taken, and just your enormous commitment to these skills and how they just come out of you now. So I just want to congratulate you and give you my Best Wife Award. Woohoo! You've done it. You did it. You've earned this. I just, I think you have probably inspired a lot of people today, sharing this story, this incredible story of what's possible. And I just couldn't be more grateful, Diane. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, this has been great. I'm going to have a spring in my step for at least a day or two after this. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been loads of fun. Thank you.
For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.